Yeah, so welcome to the session before the last session before the lunch break. And before we go to lunch, we will focus on us. We will focus on our environment. But don't worry, this will not be a meditation session. We will talk about human-centered AI for sustainable development. And just looking at the title, you already see that it's two very important and meaningful challenges that we are facing currently. So on the one hand, it's the raising AI adoption. And on the other hand, it's topics like sustainability, including climate change, resource depletion, and others. So how do these two go together? And just a little spoiler, from the first look, it seems like the relationship could be better. So here on the left side, we see the adoption time for 1 million users. And when starting with Netflix, which got launched in 1999, it took 3.5 years to adopt 1 million users. So proceeding over time, Twitter, as an example, in 2006 needed 2 years. And then rushing a little bit through to ChatGPT, which needed 5 days to adopt 1 million users. And what's really special about ChatGPT is that it's not only similar to Netflix, that people are not really aware that they're using AI. They actually are communicating with AI. They're aware. So it's not only office workers, it's now the broad range of society. On the right side, you see the emission benchmarks. Here it's tons of CO2 equivalent, and not so much focusing on the absolute values because I know they're discussable, but like just on the relation between the three numbers. So we have an air travel from New York to San Francisco, which causes about 1 ton of CO2 equivalent. Average human life for 1 year is 5 tons. And then you have a transformer model with about 200 million parameters with tuning, and it causes about 280 tons of CO2 equivalent. What's really crazy about this number is that this is for one model run. So now we all have in mind how many runs of models you need, or of the algorithm that you need to develop a product from a POC to a real product. So this really adds up over time. So we can still argue, okay, not every machine learning project is a ChatGPT project, but it's still interesting to see, so how do these two go together? And let's start with the human-centered part, so from the left side. So what is human-centered AI? Of course, AI should serve our capabilities, our needs. We want it to augment our capabilities, and we also want to be in control, right? We don't want something that just tells us what to do or maybe changing our life without us being aware of it. So we want to control AI in a way that it supports us. What does it mean from the human-centered AI framework? There are actually 3 research focus points. The one is technology. So technology is influencing human-centered AI. And our requirements for technology is that it's trustworthy, it's safe, it's unbiased, it's reproducible. So when we are thinking about data or when we're thinking about algorithms, we want it to serve human-centered AI in an unbiased way. As a second factor, we have the human-AI collaboration. And as we said before, human-centered AI is that like AI should serve and augment our capabilities. It also should support our decision-making. And here already one of the tricky things, how does AI influence our decision-making? So how can we be sure what information is given to us via the AI solution? That's in particular when it comes to social media posts and applications really interesting. And of course, we have a human in the loop. So far, most of the AI applications that are developed, there is a human developer. The human developer decides about the data. There is someone collecting the data. There is someone setting up the algorithm. So there's some intersection and some collaboration between the two. And we see technologies influencing human-centered AI. Between the human and AI, there is like a bilateral relationship. But now also we have AI influencing society when it comes with respect to human-centered AI. So here we are covering data privacy. We all know about the recent GDPR discussions. Governance and regulations. I mean, I think yesterday, one of the biggest tech companies met in the US to discuss about regulation and also prefer that for the next 6 months, there are no further developments in AI. If this is realistic or not, I don't know. But there are discussions also in the EU. And inequality. So how fair is it if there are resources exploited in poorer countries and then it's shipped towards the richer ones for us to have some technological advancements? That's not so sure, and also AI is not so aware about this topic. We are not aware about this topic. And of course, another issue, diversity and inclusion. So in the following, I want to focus on some AI applications and where they actually went wrong, because there are some learnings in it. So here we have a very famous one, I think the Microsoft Tay, which became racist within 16 hours. And what was the reason? The reason was that the users trained it to be racist. By purpose, not by purpose, but they were super successful. So you see here on the right side some of the messages that they made. Then also we have some, let's say, AI applications in the background. We have a face recognition by Google, developed by Google, which went wrong in a way that the training data was only trained or focusing on a restricted sample of people and could not be scaled to others. So they were actually discriminating and excluding other people. And we have also Amazon's example of hiring, which preferred men compared to women. Why? Because in the past, there were more male applicants. And probably the AI solution and the algorithm kept it in a really well way, but that's not what they want to have for the future. And here also a third example from a chatbot for COVID-19 in the UK, which was fed with some unproven information about treatments or information about unproven treatments, and they directly gave it to their users. So also here we see that the chatbot somehow, or the AI solution via the chatbot gave some wrong information. So what is the learning out of these applications? The first one is that the input data is very relevant. We need to know what is the data behind it. And the second one is, in particular for the Microsoft Tay, the users are interacting with the AI solution. So we are changing our user behavior once there is a solution, and maybe we are also influencing that AI solution. So this really means we need to think about AI from end to end. So from the data input towards how do the users actually use the solution. So that's why, like most of us, as I said, we are not developing ChatGPT or any similar solutions. We have really basic applications, which doesn't mean that they're less relevant, but we need some measures on our hands. How can we be aware and how can we implement human-centered AI? So first, I think that's nothing new, but we forget it quite often. Understand your users, their needs, and their jobs. So we need to conduct maybe some research and really talk to some diverse groups, be inclusive when you're choosing your users, to understand what are their needs, what do they want to achieve in their job, and how can we support. And of course, we also need to get and understand the user problem and the right data. And this could even mean, if the data is biased, that maybe we need to create some unbiased synthetic data, right? So there are multiple possibilities on how to achieve that. The second point is design AI applications that solve the right business problem. I know from the data science point of view, we often think we understand the user, but sometimes we don't understand the user, and we don't understand each other from both sides. So it's really, really important to make sure that the AI application really serves the user's needs. So how does a potential solution address drivers and blockers that the user faces? Are we really solving the right problem? And also the first problem that is the most relevant at first? Are there other solutions? And what's also a really tricky thing, if you're running a POC, is the data that you're using also representative for the data in production? I know POCs usually are like only time restricted, but that's a very important point. Another measurement or to-dos that you can do is make the AI solution easily accessible. So here we come to the direction of explainable AI. Is it transparent to the user what's behind it? We have different applications, I don't know, applications in health, in monetary decisions where it's really important to know the drivers, while maybe for other decisions we are okay with a black box. Still, we need to understand the user needs and understand what are their requirements. So are data and algorithms transparent and explainable? And the last thing, it's test and evaluate your AI solution. So collect feedback, auditing, testing, data quality tests regarding unbiasedness or biasness, regarding ethical principles, data privacy. It always depends on the data, but that's something that's very important and often forgotten. So setting up these KPIs and setting up the testing mechanisms are very important. Here's actually a canvas that I like very much because, I mean, we sometimes also forget the things. So this can be used, that's here from Strategizer, but there are also really other nice applications. And don't worry if you cannot read the details. But what it's really doing is, on the one hand, it requests the user needs. So you really try to understand your user. On the other hand, you can kind of write down your AI solution, and then you can see how it matches. And you will be surprised if you do that for some of your applications that sometimes there is a real mismatch. So that's something I can only recommend. So going a step further, we talked about human-centered AI, and now we are asking, how does this go together with sustainability? And sustainability, when I hear it first, I think about some environmental issues. But we've also seen that for human-centered AI, we have social issues. So here at the bottom, you see the social, environmental, social, and socioeconomic aspects of sustainability. And they basically cover the same part of the human-centered AI that you've seen in this human-centered AI framework. What comes now on top for sustainability is the environmental aspects like emissions, resource usage, and discharges, but also economic issues. We want to grow with our AI solutions. So of course, if 80 to 90% of the AI solutions are still failing, then we have an issue. So that's definitely something to be addressed. Provide value to customers, market development, and then of course how everything goes together, as an example regarding renewable energies. What we want in the end is that the AI applications are human-centric in a sustainable way, right? Because even if it influences our environment, like environment in the sense of nature as an example, it also comes back to us. And this awareness is not often there in the market. And then we also have 2 points. It's not only that AI causes the footprint, what we've seen before, that there are these CO2 emissions. AI also reduces the carbon footprint. So what can you do in your data science and AI projects to measure your AI's footprint? So actually, we need to think about the whole data science lifecycle. And here, of course, you can streamline the data access and the understandability. You need to be sure how big is your sample. Of course, we say it needs to be unbiased, it needs to be representative, but sampling techniques are an issue. Then we can adjust the number of training iterations, the update frequency. If you have monthly data, you do not need to run it every day. One important thing that also comes on top is to collect the right environmental KPIs. So not only the data science KPIs, not only the, let's say, hardcore business KPIs, but also the environmental ones. It can be the power usage, it can be the training time, computational resources, and partially they can be even fed into the model. So you can use this one as a parameter for training in your models. So we should measure the energy usage, and we should also keep an eye on the model's consumption. I know that, most of the cloud providers are offsetting the carbon footprint of the things that you're running there. Still, you're causing emissions, right? Something that needs to be offset is also caused. Also nothing new, like the libraries, manage your development environments. It doesn't need to be super, super big if you don't use all the libraries. Run your code efficiently. That's, I think, where we all have some refactoring sessions sometimes. Set the frequency and resource availability according to the use case. As I said, like if your data follows a certain cycle, you don't need to train the model more often or less frequent. And also selecting meaningful logs. I think that's also a really relevant one because sometimes a lot of things add up. And we see that this is not necessarily specific to human-centered AI. This is just some cost efficiency measures of a company, right? So we can also just give incentives to companies to become more efficient, and then this automatically also feeds into sustainability, independent of the use case. From the other side, where AI reduces the carbon footprint, there are also a range of use cases. So AI can positively influence the tracking of the emissions, also reduce emissions in production lines, as an example. We can more efficiently organize the usage of energy, also produce more clean energy, and of course the whole waste cycle can be influenced. Predictive maintenance, operational effectiveness. I think many of the things are not new, but everywhere where AI can also contribute to efficiency, it actually also adds a plus to sustainability. One of the things that, again, are a little bit more human-centric is, as an example, the new product design. So we can use AI to make the product smarter, more sustainable. So regarding what is the resources that are going into building the product, but also maybe we have more sustainable and carbon-friendly product materials that can be used. And of course, recycling. Like as we also said in the very beginning, AI is influencing also our behaviors. So we can become maybe less wasteful. And like this consumption behavior is very important. On the other hand, we also see if the AI adoption is increasing. I mean, for ChatGPT and all the other applications, you also need a phone, you need an application or a device that really works. So there we again have the trade-off between, on the one hand, becoming more efficient, but on the other hand, having the technological advancements that still are helping us to move forward. Yeah, and this is kind of where I want to wrap up. So we've seen also, given the failure rates in many of the AI projects, the user focus is a very important one. So we need some user feedback to design our products, and we actually need to design our AI solutions. Have it written down, really looking at it again after a certain period of time when you're developing the product. That's something very important. And to always question yourself if it's really the right solution. Then, of course, with the higher AI adoption, there will be more resources used. That's out of question. Technological advancements will proceed and must proceed. But we can also change how we're treating that. So what's the AI impact on us and our environment? And many companies are not yet really tracking what are the influences of this AI solution development. So as an example, like here, we need to collect the data, which is like what are the missions for the specific solutions, but also when it comes to certain reports that sustainability reports that companies need to give, technology is not necessarily a part of it. Data science is not necessarily a part of it. So I think that also in the future, we will have more awareness here, in particular also because it's demanded by the customers. And in total, to conclude, sustainability is also, and also sustainability and human-centric AI approaches are always interdisciplinary. So when you want to have an inclusive solution, in the end, you need to include different parties, like legal departments, research departments, maybe also environmentalists, to really see or make sure that this is a solution in the end that kind of can satisfy all the needs. And with this, I want to conclude, and thank you very much.